All right, Doom Vivamus Vivamus Epicureans. This is the Marvel Epic Collection Podcast One Shot Edition. I'm your host, Nick Smith, and I'm joined by.
Stojr from Stojr Shelf. How's it going, Nick?
I'm doing well, particularly since we are participating in Kurtis Findlay's Epic Marvel Podcast Reading Club, and this one shot is going to be our brief thoughts on today's issue, which is Uncanny X Men number 139, Something Wicked This Way Comes. And a quick shout out to JV, who commented on one of our other videos informing us that some of those obscure titles we've been talking about is actually coming from Shakespeare. Well, JV, I've got this one. This is Macbeth.
There you go.
Right.
I like the cover title a little bit better. Welcome to the X Men, Kitty Pryde. Hope you survived the experience. They've used that many times over the years.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's good. And it's a simple cover, but I like that. I like the little kitty just being in the circle in the middle and then the craziness around it. You know, there's a polar bear attacking people. So it's a good cover. I don't think that would win any artistic awards necessarily, but there's something about it. All right.
Well, I mean, they just killed off their main character. They got to insert a little bit of like bubbly, fun back into the book, so it's not completely somber. So I think this cover does a great job of that.
Sure. Fair point. All right, so for our recap, the X-Men get back to work in the Danger Room, but the newest member, Kitty Pryde, is hesitant to try things out, so Xavier books her some dancing lessons. Okay. Well, she likes to dance, but that's already been established. All right, meanwhile, Wolverine is sporting a new costume, the brown costume, and he decides he needs to definitively end things with Alpha Flight, so he nips off to Canada and takes Nightcrawler with him. Well, while in Canada, Wolverine contacts his old teammates, learns about some missing people, whom he is able to identify their attacker as being Wendigo. All right, Stojr, what are your thoughts?
I said it before and I'll say it again. Inflation has hit the X Men because we're at 50 cents an issue here, which might be a little bit hard to double check as I flip through the previous issues here. But the double sized issue was 75 cents. That one makes sense, right? Double sized issue. This issue is a regular issue, and the issue before the Yule Elegy issue was also 50 cents. So this isn't the first one that's 50 cents, but it is continuing the trend where we're going to be paying more for that. And annuals are always bigger, so that was 75 cents in between. So you gotta do more of your paper route if you're gonna afford the X-Men in this era. As we go through this, I like the fact that Angel's a little rusty and trying to get back into the swing of things here. I think like the Danger Room scenes are always fun. I do find it like interesting and well written that Claremont puts them in the Danger Room so much, but it doesn't feel repetitive. I think if he continues to do this for the next couple of years, it might certainly. But every time we're in the Danger Room, it's different things, different obstacles. I think the fact that it's kind of like blank walls if everything's turned off, kind of like the holodeck on Star Trek that you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Then it gives you this blank canvas to kind of do whatever you want on, which is great. The interactions with all the different characters here, right? So Charles and Wolverine, and the fact that Wolverine is kind of needling him a bit. The fact that Kitty's kind of freaked out by Nightcrawler, and Nightcrawler's trying to, make her feel better. The little bit of, crush that Kitty has on Colossus, and him not really understanding, any of that yet or picking up on any of that stuff. All of that stuff is great character building that we have going on here. We get more of Claremont having characters narrate to no one. So the thought bubbles of what's her name? Lu-
Oh, is it
uh,
the dance teacher or?
no, the Wolverine's friend, Vindicator's wife.
Right. Oh, I don't remember her name.
It's Heather. I was blanking on it. Um, uh, yeah, her name's Heather. I forget her last name, but it's probably the same last name as Vindicator. But Heather, she's like walking the groceries in, and just like I don't know, like the more she thinks about all of this stuff, and the more narrating she does, the less natural it starts to feel. like where she starts to like between us, Jamie and I make a respectable salary. We still have to strain like she's like explaining things to someone. I don't know. Just I don't know that people necessarily think that way. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it. But I like that, we're we're changing Alpha Flight from this, major foe or annoying, other team to fight with to like, hey, let's forget all that. Let's just, remember the old times and, let's team up to go fight a monster in the woods. And I think that the Wendigo is always a good villain to have sparingly. And what I like about the Wendigo is that the concept is pretty simple, right? You get somebody that's like, eating human flesh, they've been cursed, they change into this monster. But the who that is, how they got there can always be somebody different. So I think it's a nice little like repeat villain that you don't ever have to like worry about doing anything with. Like they don't have to have character progression or anything like that because it's a different person every time. So if you treat them as that, as just that beat 'em up villain, it works out pretty well. Anyway, those are my thoughts. What did you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. The issue's fine. I didn't think there was anything exciting, but also not anything bad. Start of a new storyline, and start as you say, starting off in the danger room is kind of a nice way to do that, right? It kind of dawned on me just now that this is kind of like what Jack Kirby would do with the Fantastic Four early on, right? There would always be a little bit where they would show off the powers of each character, so new readers to the book knew what they do, and maybe that's just what the danger room does for the X-Men, right? It's a chance to have that quick little, okay, this is what this person's about. But yeah, trying to wrap up things with Canada and Wolverine, okay, it makes sense. It seems like the Alpha Flight stuff are in between things between the big storylines, but that's okay. It's a nice little thing to kind of cleanse the palates and after the big storyline. Angel joining the team, that's neat. And it's got to be official because he's in the picture box on the cover, right? That's he's there now. There was maybe a little bit of a quibble that I had here. I'm going to pull up the comic reader. Oops, I closed the wrong thing. There we go. Seemed to be some poor editing in this issue. There's a couple of just mistakes that I saw. Let's see. Storm mixes up her idioms on page 245. She says, "out of the fire and into the frying pan." Right? It's the other way around. Colossus is incorrectly called Cyclops on page 247. So that's in that's when he's standing behind Kitty Pryde. He's got the lemonade, and she's holding her arms, looking all sheepish and so forth. So weird. And then Wolverine has a new costume, but the depiction of it on the cover is off. Right? It looks blue. And maybe that's just because the cover was done at a different time and they didn't quite know the coloring of the costume yet or something. I don't know. But anyway, just thought it was a little weird that there's some off bits there. But otherwise, it was fine.
Yeah, the blue's definitely weird because neither costume is blue.
Yeah.
It looks like they had him in the old costume and then they tried to just put him in shadows because like that's his old mask. That's the yellow mask.
Mm.
Whereas he's got the more brown or orange and brown costume. For it, that's in the new spot. I do also like the nonchalant way, like some of the things with Wolverine are revealed in this issue. Like Nightcrawler learns his name, and it's just like you never asked. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my name. And same thing with the costume. It's like you're wearing a new costume. It's like yeah, and
And that's what makes
whatever.
Wolverine so cool, right? Is everything's nonchalant. That's what cool people do. They don't care.
Yeah.
So, all right. Any other final thoughts, Stoger?
These issues make me interested in Alpha Flight a little bit more. I've never read the main Alpha Flight series, but they all kind of have a interesting and cool power set here with the ability to change into different animals and things like that with Snowbird and the Shaman. So I think if this is trying to tease a new book, I don't know when Alpha Flight actually came out. I'm imagining it's after this, but I don't think it's around the exact same time. Uh, but it's there's enough meat on the bones here where I'd pick up a first issue of an Alpha Flight book and see what it's like.
Yeah.
And you always got to end it with Wendigo sang his name very, sporadically with the Wendigo.
Yeah.
So,
So before Groot was Groot, there was Wendigo, right? And of course,
yep.
after playing through the X Men arcade game the other day, I just had that going through my head how he says it in the arcade game, Wendigo, or however it was. All right. Well, if you guys have enjoyed our thoughts, again, follow us on YouTube. We're going to read, rate, and review a full Epic Collection trade paperback once a month. Avengers West Coast is coming up on the 14th of December. At least that's the plan. Of course, that could change if something happens. Who knows? And these one-shots are going to come out each day. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow.
Have a good one.